of Arizona State University. This is a class on ethical issues in science and technology. I am speaking to you here from University of Arizona. The question I will ask you first is, what is the relationship between the computers at University of Arizona and Arizona State University? I spent an hour yesterday with human resources, an hour with computer sciences, arguing that I should be able to do this lecture here at University of Arizona if I have an ASU right ID and an ASU identification card. Nobody actually seems to know who made the decision not to allow Arizona State faculty to have access to U of A faculty. I wanted to introduce you to a very good people who have actually decided to allow me to do a lecture today and today only. I want you to introduce yourself, Dejan.
I'm Dejan. I am an employee of Office of Student Computing Resources at the University of Arizona.
And what's your career goals?
I am a computer science major.
And what do you want to do when you graduate?
I graduate spring of 2017, and what I want to do, that's a good question. But
I hope you know. Are you borrowing money to come to U of A? Or you're just working you're here?
I mean, I'm working,
Yeah. So anyway, the good thing is Dejan loves YouTube, and he's going to get this lecture when we're done off of U of A and off of Wildcat territory into YouTube. In YouTube, who dominates, the Red Devils or the Wildcats?
Depends. That depends.
That depends. Depends who you're talking. You're talking to you ASU people, Red Devils over there. What are you? Who has better computer support? Who has a better computer science program? U of A or ASU?
Honestly, that's a close,
you didn't look it up.
That's a close race.
It's a close race. Our race is good or bad?
Good.
Good. Anyway, thank you very much. Anyway, what I want to do, I think last week we had an assignment to look at Dr. Martin Luther King's concept of the beloved community and seeing how that actually applies to science and technology and ethics. I actually think it's very relevant. I wanted to know back in 1962, my parents took me every week to Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Dr. King's two daughters actually took care of me during Sunday school. In 1966, Martin Luther King was actually speaking every week at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was listening, and I listened very, very closely. And I assume all of you know about the Birmingham bombings in 1966, in which, and so the next day, Martin Luther King gave a very, very powerful sermon in which he quoted Gandhi, and Gandhi had basically said that the only thing it takes to have evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing. I've read your papers last week. Most of them are very good, but none of you actually discussed whether Martin Luther King ever used the word ethics in his sermons, his speeches, or writing. Did Martin Luther King actually think he had an ethic? Or did he see ethic as really something more coming out of Plato, and he saw himself more aligned with Jesus and love? Are ethics and love the same thing, or are they different? None of you guys really addressed that, and I was disappointed by that. The other thing a lot of you wrote really good papers, but they were almost all the same. It looked like you guys, somebody found some things. You guys were using the same references and saying the same things. I absolutely love you guys to read each other's work. It's fantastic. Great thing. It's the only way to actually create value. But you've got to, if you get an idea from someone else, you need to cite it, okay? It's just fundamental in academia, but it's also really good because then I know who's actually the original person who came up with this idea of looking at different parts, who found the original searches. That allows me to give better grades to the people who are the originators of the best ideas for the paper. Now the question is, let me ask you this.
Yes.
If you're writing a paper and you cite another student's work, what citation style do you use?
Well, honestly, I would not be able to use another student's work because that's a violation of academic integrity.
Is it? But what if your professor says you need to use other students' work and you need to cite it?
Well,
no, it's a violation to not cite it. It's not a violation to use it, right? Right, Dejan? You understand the difference, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It is not, so what I'm saying, it is not a violation of academic, whether it's at ASU or U of A or most universities in America, to use other pieces of work. It's just important to cite it, okay? How do you cite it? To be honest, if you look at my papers up on the web, I've written 50 books and articles. I use all sorts of different things. I use different citation strategies. One of the things I want you guys to talk among yourselves about is what's the best way when we're doing these essays in class to cite each other's work. So it's good for me so I know where it's coming from, and good for you so you can follow the thread. So I don't have the answer, but if anybody has a good idea, send it to me and I will post it. So that's that. So that's the question. It comes to another question. So I have run into the past week. I committed this week to do a lecture and put it up on YouTube. Everything at U of A has conspired against me doing that. My iPad was stolen. They won't let me have access to computers. And even when we tried to, use the computers, it's just been a disaster. Now here is the question: as a matter of ethics, if people say, "Oh, you can't do this because it's against computer policy," and you think it's wrong, do you engage in an act of civil disobedience? Do you keep pushing the system, or do you just go with what people say the bureaucracy says you have to do? And that's what you think. My way is if someone says you can't do it, I just go keep asking questions. Even up to actually, I'm willing to go to the Board of Regents and argue why can I not use a ASU right ID on a computer at U of A to have access so I can teach. What do you think this on? Should I be able to use an ASU right ID, or should I have to go get a U of A ID to use your computer share? You run the lab here, right?
Yeah. Well, the issue is that the security system here is only set up for people who have the net ID through the university.
But why hasn't it been set up to accept people with faculty with ASU right IDs?
That's a good question.
Is it all right to ask the question, or do you think I'm being a pain in the ass?
Well, no. Realistically, they should. It should be set up that way. It's not.
It's not your choice. It's above your pay grade.
That's whoever programs.
Yeah. Should I go to the Board of Regents? Should I go to the Board of Regents and bring the head of Human Resources, the head of Arbor, the head of the library at U of A to explain why they are not allowing to change the computer policy so I can use my ASU right ID here? Should I do that in front of the Board of Regents? Should I go to Arbor?
Well,
Board of Regents, of course, they have set a policy saying there should be coordination. The Regents have said the goal is to allow coordination, but the computers don't allow coordination.
Well, I think really the best place to tackle would be the Office of Student Computing Resources.
No, they absolutely said it wasn't their responsibility. I was just there half a minute. They said absolutely not.
I could see that. So
everybody, the problem with computers is people start to think that what the computer has been programmed for is reality and it cannot be changed. I say as my ethics, when somebody says the computers won't allow you to do that, and that is policy, and that's almost God's policy. God has said U of A should not allow ASU people to use our computers. As an ethical person, as someone who loves Martin Luther King, I have to say, what's going on here? Okay. So anyway, we'll see that. But I actually found a very nice department. When I was here at U of A, my PhD was in MIS, which is far better than computer science here at U of A. It's ranked #1 in the world. Computer science sucks. But I also majored in East Asian Studies, and the East Asian Studies, the MIS department wasn't willing to give me a net ID and a CAT card, but the East Asian Studies was. So what does that mean? I followed everything, and now I actually found a little home in U of A back in my East Asian Studies. So anyway, I guess that's the thing. So I guess the thing I want to say is that we have built all these computer programs that structure our reality. And they make us, almost everything we do, we have to go through computer systems. And over and over again, you find that people are using computer systems, and as a society, we're making horrible decisions. So I've asked you guys this week to write a paper on whether capitalism and technology, the way they interact, is going to destroy our planet, especially our ecosystem. Look forward to reading your papers. And if you come down to Tucson, I will actually give you a tour of U of A, which is better than ASU. Thanks, bye. Is that all going over the edge?